Davante Adams, 12-1 to go back to the Raiders. And I said, there's no way he's going back to the Raiders. There's one way he would go back to the Raiders. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Raiders. And Maxx Crosby, who's made it clear he isn't very thrilled with the way things are going for the Raiders, has made his position clear on whether or not he wants Aaron Rodgers in Las Vegas.
I know the competitor. He's an ultra-competitive human being, but it's the first year off an Achilles is one of the hardest things to do. You've seen it happen with Kirk. Kirk had a down year. It happened with Aaron. I mean, he struggled, like you said, early on, but he got better as the season went. I think with all the doubt and all the negativity around Aaron Rodgers, he needs to retire, things like that, you know, he's getting cut by the Jets. I think he's going to come back and have I mean, I know he's 42 or 41.
Are you going to say MVP?
No, I think he's going to have a big year this year, and I hope it's in our town.
Oh boy, let the rumor mill begin. Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, a package deal to the Raiders to make one last hurrah in the NFL, trying to make the playoffs and a Super Bowl win. But before we get into today's video, let's talk about the XbotGo Chameleon, the revolutionary AI robotic cameraman that is absolutely changing the game. Guys, if you want to record your kids' sporting events or your own, maybe you fancy yourself a little bit of a savant out there on the court, you can absolutely do it with the XbotGo Chameleon. It has follow me mode. It has the ability to track the jersey number. It can track the ball. It is absolutely crazy what this thing can do, and it comes with the ability to record in 4K 60 FPS. Comes with the ability to live stream the game for hours on end with an insane 8-hour battery life of continuous recording. And yes, it comes with an app, and the app is 100% free. It comes with different types of record mode: soccer, ice hockey, tennis, football, basketball, you name it, they got it. It has the follow me mode, the accurate player tracking. It has capture, edit, share, again, all on their app, which is 100% free. You get 20 gigs of space on their cloud, and they don't even charge you for it. The XBot Chameleon is absolutely changing the game and how we go about recording. Long gone are the days of you having to hold your smartphone up for hours on end to record your kids' games. You just set it and forget it. Lock onto your kid or lock onto the ball, and you can now sit back and enjoy the game and let the XbotGo Chameleon, super robotic, super smart AI gimbal, do all the work for you. It has 360 degrees of motion, 8 hours of battery. Guys, you cannot pass up on this. Go and get yourself an XbotGo Chameleon today. And oh, by the way, it also connects to your Apple smartwatch, or you can use the smart remote. Link is down in the description. Thanks XbotGo for being a sponsor of the Raider D podcast. This is a very interesting piece to the puzzle. Maxx Crosby calling for Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball for the Raiders this season and explaining why, you know, he had a down year. And by down year, the dude still nearly put up 4,000 yards and still nearly put up 30 touchdowns and only had 11 interceptions. Could this happen? Well, we're going to get into all of that and more on today's episode of the Raider D podcast. And stick around, because we're also going to be talking about Robert Spillane and what is going on with him, because that is a very interesting story as well. Guys, welcome back to the Raider Ranch. I am the Raider D, and you're watching the Raider D podcast. If you haven't joined yet, why not? Let's join up. Let's hit that subscribe button. Let's hit that like button, because I see that over 54% of you are returning viewers, but you haven't hit the subscribe button yet. What am I doing wrong? I'm coming at you every single day with Raiders content, fresh, hot off of the press. Let's get some, baby. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, man. Let's talk about Davante Adams. Now, let me be very clear from the beginning in this video. I am not advocating for Aaron Rodgers to come to the Raiders. I think that if he came to the Raiders, it's a one-year deal. You're a one and done. The dude's going to be 42 years old. How much more left do you have in the tank? I think you come here. I think it's basically you're coming to get a shot at a Super Bowl, because the Raiders have an outstanding all-star cast in the coaching department right now. You have Maxx Crosby. You have the best tight end in the NFL to throw the ball to over the flat, over the middle. And let's be honest, in today's game, that's exactly what happens. It is wide open over the middle because they're always playing two safeties deep and the linebackers are crouching the line. So it's easy for a guy who's 42 years old with the experience that he has to just hit Brock Bowers, 15 times a game and let it be written that Brock Bowers is going to be a Hall of Fame tight end. And if you get a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing him the ball over and over again, that's just going to make his stats last year pale in comparison to what he could do this year. Now let's talk about Aaron Rodgers' Achilles situation. As Maxx Crosby said, Kirk Cousins struggled. Aaron Rodgers struggled. And again, by struggled, he still nearly put up 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns to only 11 interceptions. But maybe a year separated from that Achilles, he could actually have a really good season. And I think that if you bring a familiar face like a Davante Adams into the mix, this could be a plausible thing. I still think it's a long shot that the Raiders bring back Davante Adams. And all of the insider reports, when you look at Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Bosignor, on and on and on, none of them are talking about the Raiders being interested in Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Rodgers being interested in the Raiders. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, because right now Aaron Rodgers is linked to the Giants as a possibility, but we know that the Giants are drafting a quarterback anyway. Maybe you're bringing Aaron Rodgers in because you're afraid that the guy that you're going to bring in as a rookie wouldn't be ready day one. Maybe you're not 100% believing in Shedeur Sanders. Maybe you're not 100% believing in Cam Ward, whichever one you end up with. But best believe the New York Giants are going to draft a quarterback. And so maybe for Aaron Rodgers, when you're looking at that situation, maybe instead of them drafting another quarterback with their high first-round draft pick, maybe you go to the Raiders, and the Raiders aren't going to draft a quarterback this year, and so they're going to get the best player available on offense, which would be Ashton Jeanty or Tet McMillan. Now, if you're going to bring back Davante Adams, maybe you do go Ashton Jeanty in that regard, because, again, the dude there's no running back like him in this draft class. There hasn't been one like him since Barry Sanders. So do you pass up on that opportunity? Well, if you're the Raiders and you are actually interested in him, then I think that the first thing that you would have to go to and say, hey, we got Brock Bowers. Hey, we're bringing your boy Davante Adams, who's still an elite wide receiver, right? He's not as good as he was 3 years ago, but he is still a top-notch wide receiver out there in the NFL. Let's not hate on him because he left. Let's just be 100% honest. He's probably a top 12 wide receiver in the NFL. And that's saying a lot, right? So if you have Davante, you have Brock Bowers, you go out and you tell Aaron Rodgers, we're going to get the best running back since Barry Sanders. Come to the Raiders for a final year, a final hurrah. Let's make a run. We got Pete Carroll. We got Chip Kelly. We're going to beef up in the second and third rounds this offensive line, because we have 3 picks in 2 rounds. So we're going to beef up this offensive line and really give you the protection that you need. And you're going to, and listen, they didn't really use Ashton Jeanty as a wide receiver last year. They wanted to focus on letting him run the ball. But the year prior, the dude was lighting it up as a wide receiver back. So you now have multiple options. You have your boy Davante Adams. You have the best tight end in the NFL and Brock Bowers. You have the best running back in this draft class, who's also a great receiver back. He can get out in the flat as well. And once you get the ball in his hands, I mean, we've seen how difficult he is to tackle. I think you could absolutely bring in an Aaron Rodgers, bring back Davante Adams to make him happy, and you go with the best, most dynamic running back at pick number 6, and you grab Ashton Jeanty. And if Aaron Rodgers can put up 3,800 yards like he did last year and 28 touchdowns, I think honestly he would put up more. I think he would get over 4,000 yards, and I think that he would definitely end up with 34, 35 touchdowns if he came to the Raiders. If the Raiders were to draft Ashton Genty and go offensive line in the second round, offensive line in the third round, and maybe you use, pick 2 and 3 to go offensive line, and then you grab a wide receiver, because remember, Davante Adams is getting old, so you're going to need replacements for him. Yeah, I think it could absolutely work. Guys, let me know in the comments how you feel about that. But first, let's talk about Robert Spillane and why he hasn't been signed yet and what is going on with that, because this is pretty wild. Robert Spillane is projected to earn somewhere around $18 to $20 million, but the Raiders are only offering $10 to $12 million. So Robert Spillane very well could find himself out there in the free agency. He could go and test the waters. Now, he may still come back and sign. He may not get an actual $12 to $20 million deal. He may only get a $10 to $12 million deal somewhere else and then end up coming and signing with the Raiders and staying with the Raiders, because you got Maxx Crosby, you got Patrick Graham is your defensive coordinator who you're very familiar with. I think if you sign him to a 3-year deal, $12 million a year deal, that's great for Robert Spillane. That's $36 million. You're a multimillionaire. And in a linebacker market, they don't get paid a lot. A lot of linebackers getting paid way less than that. So he's among the top echelon of linebackers. I think it would make sense for him to sign that deal, but he hasn't done it yet. Insiders are saying that negotiations are continuing and they're trying to get a deal done before the 12th, because when the 12th happens, he's an unrestricted free agent. Now, you could franchise tag him, but then you're paying him a lot more. But the Raiders have another option out there, and that's Nick Bolton, the star linebacker of the Kansas City Chiefs, who is going to be an unrestricted free agent this year, and he's projected to make around $12 million a year. Now, what's the contrast? What's the difference between Nick Bolton and Robert Spillane? Well, Robert Spillane had more tackles and he also had more interceptions, but PFF grade has Nick Bolton better in coverage than Robert Spillane. And it may be that the Raiders want a linebacker that is better in coverage. Now, let's be honest, that was the knock on Robert Spillane coming out of Pittsburgh, is that he was bad in coverage. But this dude has like 5 interceptions in 2 years with the Raiders. So he has definitely upped his game when it comes to pass coverage and being out there in defending wide receivers. And so I think that giving up on Robert Spillane because of a PFF grade and going after Nick Bolton, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. However, if the money doesn't make sense, if Robert Spillane is requesting and demanding $20 million a year, that doesn't make sense when you can get a Nick Bolton who is basically the same linebacker but has a better PFF grade in coverage than Robert Spillane. So in that regard, I think it would make sense for the Raiders to go after Nick Bolton, but it's risky. It's very risky, because what could end up happening is you don't end up with either. So worst case scenario, you let Robert Spillane walk into that free agency and Nick Bolton re-signs with the Chiefs. Nick Bolton signs with another team and doesn't come back to you, and neither does Robert Spillane. Now you've got an issue, because Robert Spillane is the best linebacker in your linebacker core that you have. And without him, you're going to be worse out there in the secondary. So I think that the Raiders should make the smart move. And again, what insiders are saying is the Raiders are absolutely pressing hard. They are trying to make sure that he does not hit the free agency. They're trying to get a deal done. But we have to brace ourselves. It could very well happen where Robert Spillane ends up in the free agency and he is not wearing the silver and black in 2025. And we could have a replacement with Nick Bolton, or maybe not. Guys, drop your comments down below. Let me know how you feel about this whole situation with Robert Spillane as well. And as always, I'll do my best to respond to as many as possible. Hit that subscribe button and that like button. Let's go Raiders! Just win, baby.